Time to turn the page. It's time to preview this Virginia Tech team. Obviously, we're going on the road to Blacksburg and going to take on Virginia Tech. Certainly a place that has a reputation of being somewhat of a hostile environment, right? Big time entrance. They got some rabid fans up there. They really, are passionate about their Hokies up there, right? So Virginia Tech coming into this game. Obviously, they're 5-4 coming into the game. You remember they started the season losing to Vanderbilt. Everybody was making fun of them because, they were supposed to have a pretty good season. They were supposed to be one of the dark horses to kind of compete for that ACC title this year. Didn't end up being that way for them, but Vanderbilt obviously turned out to be a much better team than they typically are. So that loss doesn't nearly look as bad as it was or as bad as it did at the time, and it was in overtime. They actually have 2 overtime losses so far this season. They just racked up another one against Syracuse last week. Some clock management issues there. We'll talk about that as we get into the breakdown. Lost to Rutgers. That's not good. And then obviously lost to Miami, 38-34. Pretty close game. So those are their 4 losses: Vanderbilt, Rutgers, Miami, and Syracuse. What are your thoughts on this Virginia Tech team? Obviously, they're not the team that a lot of people thought they were going to be preseason, but this is still a very good football team heading into this contest against Clemson, and I'm sure they're going to come in. It's going to be a spirited effort. They're going to believe that they can walk into their stadium and put a whipping on Clemson. So, what are your thoughts on this Virginia Tech team as we start to break them down and see how they match up against our Clemson Tigers?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this Virginia Tech team, I mean, they kind of remind you a lot of the team you played last week. Not in terms of like play style necessarily, but just kind of how their season has gone. They've had close losses. Their 4 losses have been by a combined 21 points. And obviously the 2 overtimes really stand out losses. And then you had the Hail Mary that was called back against Miami. So, I mean, this is your second game in a row where you're playing a team that, has athletes, the caliber of athlete to give you resistance. And, of course, the 2 games we've seen Clemson play that kind of competition, they have not looked good. But this Virginia Tech team is I mean, offensively, it starts with them running the football with their dynamic quarterback, Kyron Drones. Tough to bring down. He's a big guy, but he moves really, really well. And, of course, Basil Tootin. Both of them have been kind of nursing injuries this week, but they have, from what I've seen, they have practiced so far during the week. So, honestly, it feels like they're trending like they're going to play. So could be it's going to be a tough task for this Clemson defense. But yeah, it starts with them running the football. They do have some nice weapons on the outside, but it starts with them running the football. And then defensively, I think that it starts with their defensive line. This is one of the better Virginia Tech defensive lines we've seen in a while. They've kind of been known for kind of their secondary pieces, but this year their pass rush has been pretty strong, led by Antoine Powell-Ryland. He on the edge, he's the nation's leader in sacks, or he's second in the nation in sacks. This is a really, really good defense. Kind of better against the pass than the run. They have had some leakage in the run game, but this is a very well coached defense that Clemson. They're going to do a lot to try and limit Clemson as far as explosive plays, and so if you see them kind of take from the Louisville game plan, they have the guys that are to do that and to win up front. So I think starting and emphasizing running the football for Clemson offensively will be a big point of emphasis, hopefully, this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a tough matchup for Clemson, I think, heading into that stadium's going to be ready to rock and roll. I think it's a 3:30 kick, correct?
Yes, 3:30.
Yeah, 3:30 kick. So that stadium's going to be jacked up. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to be looking to finally turn the corner and win one of these games against the Clemson Tigers. Been a while since they've been able to do it. But you mentioned Bashal Tootin, running back. The guy's having a pretty good season. He's approaching the 1,000-yard mark on the season, right? Averaging 6.7 yards per carry. I mentioned Clemson's defense and their inability to stop the run at numerous points in time this season. That definitely gives you pause for concern, right? I know you mentioned the injury that he's nursing, but if he's healthy, he could become a problem for the Clemson Tigers, specifically if Peter Woods cannot go and we're struggling to set that edge again. It'd be interesting to see what the Clemson defense decides to do. If they decide to make any sort of adjustments, bring in a third linebacker, Sammy Brown, to try to help set that edge and try to help stay that running game that Virginia Tech's going to obviously try to do. You mentioned Kyron Jones, 1,400 yards on the season, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So obviously there's going to be a challenge for Clemson's defense heading into this game. So I'm interested to see what adjustments this Clemson defense makes because of the performance we're coming off of. With that said, I do expect a spirited performance from the Clemson Tigers. I do expect them to play a bit angry, a bit pissed off, if you will. To quote Cade Klubnik on that. That post-game interview with Cade Klubnik, I don't know that I've ever seen him look that way, but he was not really interested in answering any questions from the media. He was clearly very upset, very angry about the performance on Saturday. Hopefully that carries throughout the team. Hopefully this team can get ready. Although everything that you were playing for prior to that Louisville game is now gone, you still got the rest of the season. You still got 4 games to play. You would like to see this Clemson team finish with some momentum and try to finish the season strong. And you got to go up there and be ready against this Virginia Tech team because you're going to get their best shot, and they can certainly beat you. So switching gears to this Clemson offense, what do you think? How's this Virginia Tech defense match up against this Clemson offense? Are we going to see a similar performance that we saw against Louisville? Do you think that this Virginia Tech defense has the ability to do some of the things that Louisville did against this Clemson Tigers offense? How do you see this thing shaking out on Saturday?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I mentioned, I think the emphasis for Clemson offensively is run the football. I mean, the Virginia Tech has been the weakness of this defense. I believe they are 83rd in the FBS in run defense. And you have to commit, you have to commit, if you run the football and only get 2 yards like that, it's like, oh, you can't just throw it out the window and say, oh, well, we tried that, not going to work. Because I definitely expect Virginia Tech to try to replicate some of the things at least that Louisville did to you,
right?
Because you didn't respond well,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll have their own wrinkles and stuff. Yeah. But I think ultimately running the football and getting staying ahead of the chains and winning on first down, because that's one thing that this offense before last week was doing really, really well.
Yeah,
and just on this past Saturday, it wasn't going all that well until late in the third, fourth quarter. So running the football and doing a better job of getting the ball to your playmakers. The timing, I think, was one thing that was just really, really off all night on Saturday. So some of those rhythm throws, Cade has got to be on point.
yes.
The pass protection, this is going to be one of their bigger tests in terms of pass protection, as I mentioned. So, I mean, they have to step up. Your offensive line has to step up in a big way. Your backs, your tight ends. You're going to need to, because Virginia Tech is going to make you work for everything that you want to get. So if you can do that, I think there will be opportunities. So you have to hit on them, and you didn't do that well last week. So yeah, I think ultimately that's the key to success is establishing as as cliche and as much of that sounds like coach speak. I mean, it really is pretty simple when it comes to this offense. They need to be able to run the football.
Yeah.
And
establish the run and stop the run.
They have the back to do it.
Yeah.
That's the reality. So, they have some. They have a couple of nice pieces in the secondary, but I think you're going to need to run the football, and if you do, you'll be able to create some plays in the passing game.
Yeah, certainly. I agree with you there. Boy, it was a rough day for the Clemson Tigers on the injury front, specifically on the defensive side of the ball against Louisville this past weekend. Peter Woods goes out again. Obviously, Louisville was cut blocking a ton in that game. Looks like he probably re-aggravated that injury that was, from earlier in the season where he missed a couple games. So I think Dabo said he's day-to-day at this point. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go for the Virginia Tech game. Sounds like he could be, could not be, but we won't know until game time because they're either day-to-day, week-to-week, or out for the season. And Peter Woods is day-to-day. DeMonte Capehart, week-to-week. Seems like his injury is a little bit more significant, and he will not return at least for a few weeks. So he is week-to-week. Shelton Lewis is out. Probably for the season, Dabo said. He said he's got a similar toe injury to the one that Antonio Williams had last year, so they don't expect him back outside of maybe the postseason. So we lose Shelton Lewis for probably the season, and then Tyler Brown is still out, still nursing that ankle injury where he had the tightrope surgery. Don't really know if there's any timeline for him returning. Doesn't appear to be. So that's kind of the roll-up of the injuries for the Clemson Tigers. Any thoughts on who we got out heading into the Virginia Tech week, Jordan?
It sucks. I mean, the three names. I mean, these are three guys that have started for you a lot of the year, played a lot of snaps. Peter Woods, obviously massive. Hopefully he can go. But you're not going to have DeMonte Capehart, who's been the anchor of your interior defensive line this season, and Shelton Lewis. I mean, I've been complimentary, honestly, for most of the season of the cornerback play, and you just took a hit in your depth, which is still kind of questionable past, Ashton Hampton. Like you have Avion Terrell, Jaden Lucas, Ashton Hampton, Shelton Lewis.
That's kind of it.
We have not seen very good things when Brandon Strozer has been out there, and your younger guys are just not. They're not there yet. Obviously, you don't have Miles Oliver at all, and Corian Gibson is still coming. He's still coming along in a big way, and he's been. Obviously he was coming off an ACL tear, so you can't expect him to be ready to go necessarily. And you just don't have a lot of depth right now, and so now that's another loss. And you're probably not gonna have him for the rest of the season. And I never felt like he was fully healthy this year anyway. So I mean, this wasn't that shocking. It just felt like Shelton was playing kind of banged up a lot of the year, looked a lot stiffer than he did as a freshman. Where he was really, really good in coverage. But even still, he's played a lot of football, a significant amount of football for you, and now he's out. So not great to have two of the three. And if you don't have all three on Saturday, the defense could be in for a long day, potentially.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Wish a speedy recovery to all of those guys. Hopefully they can shake back as soon as possible. I know Trey Williams went down in the game as well, but it sounds like he'll be okay and he'll be a full go this week. So at least we still got him. That's a big part of that defensive tackle room as well. So shout out to him. Hopefully he's feeling much better as well. Oh, no, go ahead.
I wanted to hit the super chat from Kuzi.
I didn't even know we have one.
I wanted to get through the injury and then get to it. Thank you for the $5. He says, "Hey JoJo Pookie Bear, we're cooked. We're cooked."
Yeah.
It seems that way, man. It seems that way. We were talking about it last night, and he was telling me we were cooked. I was like, you should when we bring back the call-in portion of the show,
Yeah.
when we get that going. I told him to call in. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
But he dropped it in as a super chat tonight. So thank you, man. And
Yeah, we definitely gotta bring back the call-in portion. See if we can get a couple people to come on here and give us their thoughts on the Clemson Tigers. Maybe we'll do that here soon. All right, catch Clemson live on all your favorite audio platforms, wherever you stream your podcast. Check out Clemson Live. Search us, rate, review. All of our long-form content is on there, so go check it out. Greatly appreciate you guys there.